Hello, welcome to Black Talk Show. I have with me today Robert Slater. He's a candidate for Congressional 18th Congressional District. He's running for
Yes.
office. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So first off, I'm going to ask you to let's start out by talking about back what was it growing up between LA and Houston? How did your early experience shape who you are, and a little bit about yourself?
Um, Thank you for asking. I'm a well-rounded individual. My father's side of the family is from Natchez, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
He's a country man at heart. I'm a country boy at heart. Simple things of fishing. Just a simple life. Country, being one with the environment, so on and so forth. My mother's side is from Houston and Los Angeles. So growing up between Houston and Los Angeles, between my grandmother and then my mother as well, it was different, but it was a great experience to learn, to experience. I've been in schools and in areas that was underserved, in the poverty, so on and so forth. And also I've been in areas where it's a little bit affluent later on in my life. So those experiences to be able to contrast and compare allow me to see the differences of life for a young child and how that affects your upbringing and your growing up. So I enjoyed it. There's been ups and downs, but at the end of the day, it was the greatest experience I could ever ask for.
Okay, that's great. So let's go into the questions. Can you take us to the moment that you realized you wanted to turn your life around and eventually serve the community through politics?
The moment for me was actually the passing of my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when she passed away, because she was so impactful and in my life and so involved and meant so much to me, I was actually in jail when she passed away. So I never got a chance to say goodbye,
Mm-hmm.
um, to say I'm sorry, I apologize. She had such, so much high hopes for me. She believed in me more than anyone else in this world. And being in a position not to reconcile that and not to hug her, kiss her, tell her I love you, so on and so forth, is something I can never get back.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was important to be an inspiration, to be a leader, and to set up situations so other young men that was facing situations like myself and to embrace accountability, but to never let those moments pass you by, to never let your current situation be your last situation. So that was the moment that I understood what legacy was, the importance of
Mm-hmm.
family, and more importantly, the importance of being an example and a leader to prevent others from going through the same path that you had undertaken.
Okay. So, can you tell us a story, including your homelessness, incarceration, and redemption? Which method do you want young Black men and women to hear when they look at your journey?
All of the above. My
Mm-hmm.
mother loved me dearly, regardless of what we were going through and faced. She tried her best. Um, I remember there was a time that we didn't have enough to eat. We didn't have any food, and my mother had took me to a neighbor that was next door, an Hispanic couple, and I remember me sitting on the curb while she talked to them and crying, just asking them if they could help feed me for the next
Mm-hmm.
day or two. Don't worry about her; she'll be all right. That was one of the first times that I seen my mother cry.
Okay.
Um, and I didn't understand what was going on. I just know it was related to food or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. So
Yeah.
I would say for a year or two, I would hoard food. Anything that I got, I would save. Anything, if this is what was making my mother cry, um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't never want to see her in that situation again. And so ultimately, I started learning how to cook and I actually became a certified executive chef that own
Mm-hmm.
restaurants today. So that was very impactful for me. Being homeless, again, as a kid, we may not had a house, but we always had a home no matter where we laid our head. And I listened to other kids and their stories and saw their afflictions and so on and so forth. But the major key difference is that when I would go to school, the trip to the school bus from, let's say, the shelter or some communities like Cashmere Gardens, CUNY Homes, so on and so forth that we lived in, I would step over syringes, homeless
Mm,
people running from stray
yeah.
dogs, things like that. And it affected my ability to prepare for school that morning because I'm just trying to survive and get to the bus stop. Later on in life, when an aunt of mine was a beneficiary of Section 8, we were placed in a more affluent area,
Mm-hmm.
predominantly white school, good environment, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
On those trips on the way to school, there were hummingbirds, there were flowers. So I was able to
Yeah.
concentrate and have peace of mind. So
Mm-hmm.
the environment of a child is just as important of the education to set them
Yeah.
up for success and to have hope that they'll be okay. So those are things that's important to me.
Okay. So let's talk about you're running for Congress in District 8. What made you choose that path and why now?
District 18 has always been a dear to my heart. I'm a very spiritual man. When I
Mm-hmm.
was incarcerated, it was three things I know that the Lord had put on my heart: being
Mm-hmm.
a chef, going into ministry, or being into politics, or being a leader to feed the people and help the people. District 18 embodies all of Houston. It was created specifically to put all of the black neighborhoods and the black communities into one district, in one district, to only
Yeah.
give them one vote for Congress. And over time, it had prospered. It encompasses downtown Houston, both airports and some other financial institutions. And then they redistricting, they tried to water it down by bringing in some other communities. So they played with it a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. But for me, it encompasses a constituency that looks like me, that
Yeah.
comes from where I come from. We grew up in those areas. So it was more important for me to be a statistic and then have a success story and to
Yes.
inspire others that this is the solution. So what
Mm-hmm.
better way? And I believe that in District 18, in this moment of time, um, in respect to lawyers and so forth, and when I win, I will surround myself with the best and the brightest of lawyers, but I don't think this is the time for litigation. You don't
Yeah.
have to be a litigator to be a legislator. As a
Mm-hmm.
businessman that has developed, that has built, I think it's time to represent the people that's on the other side that's impacted by the law. And it's
Yeah.
more important at this time that representation become relative, that we have
Mm-hmm.
somebody in Washington, D.C. that has walked the shoes of the constituency, that can talk for the people and not talk at them. And if you're going to fix some of these problems like homelessness, you have to endure hunger before. If you're going to fix criminal justice system, you have to encounter the system itself. You have to have
Yes.
go through these things. And I think that's the qualifying experience that is needed now during this time for true representation. Representation is relative, and um, it's not a lot of real relatable representation for us now, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why we keep losing in this district and as a party. So that's why
Yeah.
it's important for me to run this moment.
Yeah, because you can speak truth to power because you take your experiences to Congress and be able to talk to the people on issues that you know that you experience yourself and that your constituents are experiencing. I think that's excellent to have that outlook as well.
If I
You've said,
may,
okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No,
No,
I'm
go
saying if
ahead.
I may, like even now, I'm living it. My mother was forced into retirement early due to health issues. So
Mm-hmm.
she was on a fixed income, but not getting her full pension because of cost of living. She's living with me now. My
Mm-hmm.
daughter and my kids that stay with me, we have a $36 trillion debt. I don't know what her future will look like. So
Yeah.
I'm fighting for my daughter and fighting
Mm-hmm.
for my mother. I have a son that was unfortunately shot in 2022 due to a
Mm-hmm.
robbery. He's in a
Uh-huh.
wheelchair. He's paralyzed. So he's
Mm-hmm.
a beneficiary of Medicaid, so on and so forth. So when you're living those experiences in real time, going
Yeah.
to Washington is not only fighting for you, it's fighting for my family. So it's personal to me. So those
Yes.
experiences where we need somebody that understands that because they lived through it and they're living through it currently.
Okay. So you said that you wanted to make Houston first again, and all the right reasons. Can you break that down for us, and what does that look like in action?
Um, for me, I'll be very candid and transparent and honest. There's a lot of distractions going on. During this time in this campaign, you won't hear me talk a lot about Donald Trump and the Republicans and so on and so forth. We
Mm-hmm.
know what that is.
Mhm.
We need to clean out our own house. We need to come to grips with what we do as a house in the community, even as a
Mhm.
Democratic Party. Some people don't
Mhm.
want to have those conversations, but now is the time to warn it. So going to Washington, D.C., I have Democratic values, but I'm
Mhm.
not beholden 100% to follow lock and step with every single thing that my constituency may not agree with by the
Mhm.
Democratic Party. And I'll
Yeah.
support all the issues, but we need to bring to the table and make representation first. I'm going to D.C. to represent Houston and District
Mhm.
18 and what's important to that constituency. So getting the feedback and the involving the community and redesigning what representation look like is very important. We're all going to DC. The only endorsement that I seek is the endorsement of the people. So they will come first.
Mhm.
I am beholden to make a pact with this community, a couple of things to redefine this seat so it's not treated as a hierarchy and someone is sitting there forever. On day one, I'm going to sign a pact that I will no longer no longer than 4 terms. That's 8 years. That's enough for two
Mhm.
presidencies to get some impactful change. Secondly, I will embody the precinct chairs and community leaders to serve as an advisory board to this office, meaning that every single issue that I am to vote on, I will come to them, we will educate, we will talk about, I will tell them
Yeah.
what this means, and I will seek their vote. If the majority of that advisory board that represent these precincts and communities say no, then that's when I'm gonna vote. I'm not going up there and vote for me. So you have to
Mhm.
build this synergy of a team that represents, that includes
Yeah.
everyone to get the consensus of what we're voting for. So that's what I mean by putting Houston first.
Okay. Okay. So safety is a top priority in your platform. What specific steps would you take to make your neighborhood safer?
For me, we in my plan it's called community synergy, civic
Mhm.
synergy, and what that means is that taking a different approach and perspective to understand that everything is connected. For instance, um, we have a total of over 189 vacant buildings that's at least 20,000 square feet that's in this district.
Mhm.
Most of them the city owns. Most of them is a eyesore, blight. Transforming those buildings into a pilot program to turn them into economic incubators for
Mhm.
small business owners, not just that's aged out of the college level, but for
Mhm.
adults, that a
Yeah.
young mother that has a t-shirt business or an eyelash tech, esthetician, whatever the case may be, but
Mhm.
she has a dream for her own business, but she got to pay
Yes.
rent. So we will bring them in, teach them profit and loss sheet education, financial education, how to build your LLC to mitigate all of the risk and also sets you up for funding to live your dream, because that's what it should be. But also a part of these is we want to create programs that partner with law enforcement and the judicial system to prevent the young men and women and individuals from becoming going back with the revolving door of the criminal justice system.
Mhm.
So having these civil community corps that where young men and women can join on a campus, learn trades, further education, civic skills. But this is the requirement.
Mhm.
Every single day for 4 days, they have to commit to 6 to 7 hours of community service. Imagine in your neighborhood, we have a bus that pull up, 2 buses, and each
Mhm.
bus, 30 young men get out in uniform and they go
Yeah.
cut the grass. They go knock on
Yeah.
the door and say, "Excuse me, ma'am, I'm with the civil court. I'm here to help you for 15 minutes, whatever it is, clean out your garage, so on and so forth."
Yes.
And the thought process is that if you put rehabilitation in the community, people are
Yes.
less likely to destroy what they help build. So to
All
me,
right.
we will see a lot of decrease in it. We will see service needs updated. We will see help to our elderly community, so on and so forth. We don't need to wait for municipalities and or the federal government to build our neighborhoods. There's a lot that
Mhm.
we could do ourselves while we pull in those resources. It just takes a businessman to fine line and see how we could get that done. And I believe we have a plan to do so.
Yeah, that was probably my next question is because you sound like you're passionate about small businesses. So since
Yes.
you said you had your own business, so
Yes, ma'am.
and tell us what inspired you to start your own business. Is it with your grandmother, or what was it that made you decide to start your own business?
Absolutely. So besides, you know, again, traditions growing up with my grandmother for Thanksgiving, like all the kids, we would be in the corner snapping peas,
Mm-hmm.
crumbling cornbread for the dressing the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Those traditions don't happen so much, but it instills in you family and understand the importance of cooking and so on and
Mm-hmm.
so forth. Um, and my turning point in my life, the best thing that I accomplished was a culinary degree. And
Mm-hmm.
so I joined a company, Top Golf, worked my way up from an event chef to that company's first Black executive chef.
Mm-hmm.
I had got married and moved to Dallas, and I transferred and went to Del Frisco's and became
Mm-hmm.
that company's first Black executive chef and
All
corporate
right.
chef. Then I
Mm-hmm.
went to Live Nation and House of Blues and became a market chef, that company's first Black corporate chef as well.
Yeah. All right.
You get
That's
tired of
good.
saying the first black, and it makes you
Yes.
think, why? Right,
Yeah.
right. But the
Yeah.
key thing is that, and eventually I started my company, Rob Slate Brands, which was a consulting company. We worked with over 30 different restaurants to get their
Mm-hmm.
Black-owned restaurants to get their P&Ls and make them financially sound by educating them. You have a
Mm-hmm.
talent to cook, but the average person don't know how to run a business, so they're
Yes.
failing.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so then we opened up our own restaurant called Slate Table and Bar. It's an Italian restaurant. So here we go. The only first Black chef with an Italian restaurant in the state of
Yeah.
Texas, right?
Yeah.
I'm also a partner. I'm also a partner director of operations for a restaurant called Quad Restaurant and Lounge, which is in the heart of
Mm-hmm.
Houston, in the third ward area. But I say all that to say is that when I was looking for funding to start a restaurant and business, I couldn't because of my past when I was a knucklehead growing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, I could build multi-million dollar restaurants, but I can't get an apartment in my name right now.
Yes. All
These type
right.
of things that makes no sense
Mm-hmm.
is if you paid your debt to society, the invoices shouldn't continue to keep coming. So
Yeah.
it's that type of resilience and fight that I became successful by figuring out the cheat code. It's
Mm-hmm.
not up to me. When God blesses you, it's not up to me to keep that. You have to
Mm-hmm.
plant that and sow that to others. And that is what I'm passionate about, to say, hey, come over here. This is how we could do it the right way, the productive way. Don't give up. Follow your dreams. Let me show you how, because I've done it.
Yeah. So that's what you're gonna take to Congress to help the Black-owned business in Houston to grow and thrive, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So.
We have a lending crisis, especially with Black owned businesses. But not only that, our Black contractors are not getting the
Mhm.
bids and the deals. They're not getting
Yeah.
in the room. Our Black developers are getting underbidded and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not an advocate or a leader that understands, when you have a trade, with me as a chef working with my hands, how to protect that workforce. I am a strong advocate of artificial intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
but I believe in American intelligence, the real
Yeah.
AI. And
Yeah.
so as we harness this new technology, it's scary because it's replacing the American workforce at an alarming rate. And let me tell you, if it's affecting the American workforce, the Black man is already at the bottom of that.
Yeah.
He
Uh-huh.
and she is going to bear the biggest brunt of it. So getting ahead of that and what that looked like, and putting our communities first, our minorities, and leveling the playing field, it has to
Mm-hmm.
be done right now. We cannot wait.
Yes. Yes. Sounds good. So infrastructure is often overlooked. Why is that important? And how would securing federal funding help transform District 18? And that also has something to do with those getting those Black-owned business getting those contracts, and the men and women. Yeah.
Right. Houston is steady growing.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the tax breaks, incentives, whatever you want to look at, we have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people from out of state that's coming into our communities, but this is our community. District
Mm-hmm.
18 is historic. District
Mm-hmm.
18, which sent the Honorable Barbara Jordan to Congress, the first African American woman to Congress,
Mm-hmm.
came from District 18, as well as
Uh-huh.
the legends behind her.
Yeah.
Juneteenth, Juneteenth, the national federal holiday, was founded in District 18. There is
Yes.
bricks and concrete that has been laid by freed slaves in District 18.
Mm-hmm.
So as we transform and grow, the heritage and history cannot be overridden. It cannot be whited out and blotted out. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me with infrastructure, um, there's no one looking out for the interest to preserve that history as they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
erase it out of our schools, and that has to stop. That's bad business. So um, unfortunately, from a city planning area, the city of Houston, to me, is culpable with the failures of the community as well as the county.
Mm-hmm.
We have right now a cancer crisis going on in Fifth Ward because of Union Pacific. A train company was allowed to drop a contaminant into the ground. The EPA has just come out to confirm that these contaminants are on the ground, but hey, it's harmless. Makes no sense. If
Right.
this was a different neighborhood, we'd be having a different conversation.
Yes, yes, yes.
Transportation is underdeveloped. So it's pollution and hazards is overdeveloped, but transportation and certain civic services is underdeveloped. That's a
Mm-hmm.
problem. Another big thing, um, one of I hate to say this because it sounds political, so not, but one of the leading people in this race right now is the county attorney. And the problem I have, and I can't wait to tell him in his face, is that we just underwent a I-45 expansion with TxDOT and through District 18. That was a $9 billion project, and it displaced hundreds of businesses and thousands of people and increased flood zones. This is what I mean by we got to have a developer and a businessman in place to look at that and renegotiate the terms of agreement.
Yes.
A prime example would have been we have $9 billion to spend on funding, but we don't have it for our education system, so on and so forth. If I would
Yes.
have negotiated at least 1% of that 9 billion, that's 90 million. With
Mm-hmm.
$90 million, hello?
Hello, I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about
Mm-hmm.
that.
It's okay.
The devil is a lie. So as I
Yeah.
was saying, with $90 million, we could
Mm-hmm.
purchase 5,000 electric vehicles
Mm-hmm.
in the parts of the areas that don't have public transportation,
Mm-hmm.
where we have a lot of elderly and disabled individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And think of a ride share program that's for free to provide
Yeah.
the vehicles to that. That's what we could have done with that money. So
Mm-hmm.
my point is that for infrastructure, there's not enough transportation, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's no funding for it.
Yeah.
There's not enough. We have a liquor store,
On every
a
corner.
payday cash loan service,
On every corner.
and on every corner. But
Yeah.
we only have two or three, I think three fresh market food sources in the entire
Mm-hmm.
city. We have one
Yeah.
food bank, and that was just erased by the swipe of a pen on an executive order.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? You know,
Mm-hmm.
so as a businessman, I will fight for the resources in Congress,
Mm-hmm.
solidified by identifying investment zones in these areas. So, for instance, Apple is coming to Houston now. Well, if Apple's going to enjoy some of those $2 trillion of tax cuts that Donald Trump has put in place, I'm going to tie that to the investment in the community. Come to District
Mm-hmm.
18. We're open for business and
Yeah.
provide those jobs to our community. Let our community get some of those high paying jobs. If you're going to come to the state to take advantage of the tax breaks, that is breaking
Yeah.
the back of our people. So it's just looking at how we do business, how we define business, and protect the interests of our businesses.
Okay. All right. So you've lived the challenges that many of youth are currently facing. How would you use your position to help guide and support at-risk youth?
Engaging them. Too often and too much, we have a failure into engaging the youth and meeting them where they are. Having those conversations and not giving up on them. Oh, the youth, they don't vote, or they just. I tell it all the time, respectfully. If you have a child that's 11 years old and they're still wetting the bed,
Mm-hmm.
the problem is the parent,
Yeah.
right? So we need to take an interest into the youth, engage them where they're at, give them the education, give them the resources, give them the follow up, and give them the support, right? You don't have
Yeah.
to hold their hand and micromanage, but give them the system to make sure that they understand. But we have to
Mm-hmm.
start at the grassroots level.
Yeah.
The Republicans understand this, right?
Yeah.
That's why when you dismantle education, you're dismantling us at the greatest level, the lowest
Yeah.
level,
Yeah.
right? We have to start at the educational source. We can't
Mm-hmm.
strip away our history. We can't cut the locks and off of our young men to make them and tell them who they are. We have an attack on our youth
Yes.
because the other side understand that's the future. So we cannot afford to give up on our youth. We talk
Yeah.
education in our kids. We
Yeah.
have to engage, and not just our kids. We have to put the unity back in community. I come from an era
Yes.
where it takes a village. It takes a
Yeah.
village to raise a child. If I got in
Yes.
trouble down the street, Mr. Charles would my butt, Aunt
Yeah.
Pearl would my butt, and
Yeah.
I still begging don't tell my grandmother because she gonna kill me, right?
Yes.
We don't do that no more.
Them
This
times are gone. Yeah.
individual, yeah, everybody live in silos. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have a community. We only come together when it's time to argue or get distracted on something. We have
Mm-hmm.
to come together to build. We have to come together to talk about issues. And we may disagree. We can agree
Yeah.
to disagree,
Yeah.
but that's what makes it great. But we have to come together on the basic things that we have in common because
Mm-hmm.
our youth, that is the infrastructure that our youth is
Yes.
going to drive their future on. And we have to set it up for them.
Yeah. That's our future. Yes, sir. Let's go into you were class president, quarterback, and a team dad. How did you juggle all that at such a young age?
Lord have mercy. That same thing right now. Restaurants, businesses, and running for Congress. um, I don't have an answer for you.
You know,
I would
yeah.
just say that I just did it. You know,
Uh-huh. We build
I
like
am.
that.
I, I'm a believer that all things is possible
Hmm.
against the odds. Even running for this race, they said I'm a long shot. That start at city council. I'm not trying to. I didn't get in this for politics. I got in it for the people. I was the
Yeah.
first one to choose District 18, and I've been choosing them ever since. This is the third time that we are in this position in one term. That is a record. I was on the
Yeah.
original ballot with the late Sheila Jackson Lee.
Yes.
Um, so to your point is that to your question, that is what kind of leader is needed right now. And
Hmm.
dealing with all the things that we do, we got a shrinking economy, with the stock
Hmm.
market is crashing, our civil rights is under attack, our education is
Hmm.
in attack. So as we're being destroyed, we also have to build. I call it is
Yeah.
building an airplane and flying it at the same time.
Yeah.
So let's not be despair and talk about the distractions. We have work to do. And
Yeah.
again, to your point, you need someone that can manage and juggle multiple things and be successful and get it past the finish line instead of
Yeah.
being succumbing
Wow.
to one thing as a
Yeah.
distraction and being distracted. The people deserve more.
Yeah.
People deserve more.
Okay. What's one moment in your life that you wish were more people knew about, but rarely gets to talk about?
Ooh, I would say, that's a good one. That's a good one. Um, I would say health, healthcare, healthcare.
Okay.
Um, my mother has several medical issues. I have an ex-wife that had medical issues. My grandmother had medical issues. I have three people in my family that has succumbed to cancer. But it's one common thread that I've always kind of heard from all of them is that in some cases they don't trust doctors. And I ask why? Because doctors don't look like them. My mother don't want to go to a guy that's of Indian descent or whatever, and it's not race based. It's just that when she's telling you that something is wrong, you may not understand, right? Black women go through things that's different. And so not having enough healthcare professionals that look like us, I think is an issue. A trusted source of information to talk about how we eat, how we consume our food, how do we get healthy, right? We can hear all that stuff, but if you haven't been what I've been through and you're not working on the budget that I have, don't tell me about something that's outside of what I can afford, right? How do we bring that education for better living into a society or a community that would go for it if it was affordable and they knew better? We don't just choose to eat unhealthy because we choose to. Hell, it's all we can afford. That 99-cent gallon of juice will last 4 days versus that $10, you know, healthy, freshly squeezed orange juice. So improving the way we educate ourselves, our community, the way we talk to each other from experts that has walked through our shoes, that's not talking at us to make us feel safe and comfortable. Even in the acclimation of technology, my mother don't feel comfortable with all this Google stuff and on computers, right? You have a lot of elderly individuals that don't understand. Who's teaching them? Who's making them feel comfortable? Who's making them trust it, right? So, as a community to the civic synergy I was talking about earlier, we are a great, resilient people.
Yes.
This is Jim Crow 2.0.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Some want to make America great again. We can go
Mm-hmm.
back there. We beat them then.
Yeah.
We'll beat them again.
Yeah.
But we beat them then because we were together. We
Mm-hmm.
shared a common purpose and we were
Yes.
resilient. So understand that as those that want to take us back, their effort is they understand that they can't have us together to beat them again. So they throw
Mm-hmm.
these things to tear us apart. That is the
Yes.
strategy. And we can't let that happen. We beat them
Yeah.
again before because we was together. We have to do that again. We have to do it now. We have to do it now. And let me say this one thing too. I read a Bible scripture the other day where it says that I am the genesis of transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a powerful quote because when you think about the times we live in, some people think it's the revelations, right? It's the end.
Yeah.
I have the audacity of hope to believe that it could be a good thing in that.
Mm-hmm.
Once it's something is destroyed or taken down, we're
Mm-hmm.
going to have a chance to rebuild it.
Mm-hmm.
This administration is going to be leaving soon. We're going to rebuild, and it's an opportunity to rebuild better and stronger and more resilient. We need to make sure that we have people at that table that have your voice at heart in that rebuilding process. We need to make sure that people that relate to you, that have walked your shoes, when our education is being rebuilt, when our healthcare is being rebuilt, when our Medicaid and Social Security is being protected, people that have walked in your shoes have to be at that table in that rebuilding process in the reconstruction. So we got work to do. It's going to hurt before it gets a little bit better, but it will get better when we come together. So we'll make it happen.
Okay. So I have some questions on Facebook, so I'm going to share them with you.
Yes.
What is your opinion regarding DCJ mismanagement of funds in prison in Texas and not having AC? This is from Stivetta Walton.
Said you said not having funds in AC in prison.
Yeah, not. It says, what is the your opinion regarding TDCJ
Yeah.
mismanagement of funds and prisons in Texas not having AC?
It's inhumane. Let me tell you, I did time in Easttown and Smith Unit.
Mm-hmm.
Hurricane Harvey, the water system was cut off. There was no able to flush the toilets and water system for 3 weeks. You
Mm-hmm.
had to take things out of the toilet and dump it out of the window. There was no AC. It
Mm-hmm.
was a day one time where nobody got fed. Now, you call it due to a storm, whatever the case may be. It's unconstitutional and it's inhumane.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be a third party civil oversight committee
Mm-hmm.
that holds the agency accountable and liable. Now, we do have some agencies like ACLU and things like that, that if you file a complaint or grievance, they'll come in. But we need a legitimate advisory board that is proactive, that's overseeing the actions of TDCJ and holding them accountable. And it's twofold. We also have some prison guards that is put into unsafe situations, and their life becomes in danger. And the prison guards are fostered to have a certain posture against the offenders, and it creates a hostile environment. So the retraining and the engagement of these two groups needs to be relooked at, because the average prison guard will do, I think, 12 hours a shift. That's half a day. You got two groups, one person that's 24 hours a day and another individual that's they have to coexist together. But when we have an agency that fosters by force rehabilitation or by force control, it never worked. It never will work. And so we need to get into TDCJ, do an audit, look at it from a constitutional level, regardless of whatever the crime may be. As long as you're breathing air, you should have the basic rights of human rights, without question.
Okay. So next question is, what's your thoughts on children in foster care system who are unable to access aged out funds, foster parents are not being held accountable for assisting kids with receiving aging out benefits?
Great question. Great question. Same thing. I know in Houston, our CPS, well, Texas, C, it's a shame because we don't put enough investment into this group of our kids that's in the system. That's by not their choice or their fault. Um, the social workers and the caseworkers go to just do really a skim level summary to make sure it's safe and things like that, and then they're gone. My grandmother had four foster kids. I grew up with them. I have two aunts right now that has adopted three and foster kids, and I know what it's like. My father was in a foster care system and went through 30 different foster cares homes growing up, and then right when he turned 18, he put himself in the army. I still see the impact in his eyes of that today. And so when kids age out, that's a very vulnerable time for them, right? They know their past, they're probably dealing with trauma, they're looking for certain things, and now you're thrust into a world where you should have those funds and support, but you don't really have the advocacy or the education to prepare for, to give for. Well, let me say this first off, and I'll be honest and call a spade a spade. There's a lot of childcare for pay that's going on. The
Mm-hmm.
intentions of getting the foster care so you get a check. That mentality needs to be reevaluated, right? So how much is the interest for you getting these kids is for financial benefit, or are you really fostering and investing in this
Mm-hmm.
kid? And so it takes a comprehensive plan to look at that, to see as a foster kid is going through the process, what are we doing to invest in them? We know that the challenge they're going to face is a little bit greater than the average kid. So the investment in them should be a little greater as well. So that's a comprehensive plan. And because that falls more in the state level, I think there should be some federal oversight that just looks into that from a civil rights perspective and make sure
Mm-hmm.
we got some checks and balances, because Texas kind of has failed us and our kids in this regard for far too long.
Okay. So, what are your thoughts on using micro social workers for community organizations and connecting resources to people in need?
Great question. Um, Twofold. And some not gonna like this answer, and I'm sorry, but I listen. I'm gonna keep it real 100. All right. There has been billions of dollars that has come into this district, but the
Mm-hmm.
money has not made it where it's supposed to go. You're not seeing the investment. Things have not gotten better. This community center is supposed to get $30 million, but it's still not open 5 years later, so on and so forth. But the game is that, you have nonprofits, 501(c)(3) and organizations that'll take funding and just not do right by it, right? And so that type of mindset is kind of in every situation.
Mm-hmm.
My plan for District 18, because it's so deserving right now, is every single dollar that comes into this district will be trackable, traceable, and transparent. Right now, we're building a beta app that would upload us as a community, but also show every single funding, every single receipt, and track and hold. You will see where every single dollar goes. And outside of that, we aim to put together some civic leaders and community leaders that is doing the great work for the community and create an advisory board that all organizations that want to come and get that funding to help with those services will go
Yes.
through a process to make sure they're vetted, those funds are accurate, they have an accountability practice, and to make sure the funds trickle all the way down to what it's supposed to do. Let me be clear. We have to clean our own house. As long as we got gatekeepers and people that's messing up the system, misusing the funds, we don't
Mm-hmm.
have time for that. We have to get rid of that, rid of them, and really do right and have the integrity of true community service work. And there's so many groups that's doing that. And I want to fight to increase the funding, increase the support, and increase those relationships. But we need to vet who's getting those funds and how it's being applied a little bit more. The people are missing out.
Okay. So you have a compliment from Jose Rubin. He said, Amen, Amen. Thank you, Robert Slater, for your amazing ideas to encourage the community to bring out the best God has placed in our souls.
Yeah.
That was a compliment. So our next
Thank you,
question is,
folks.
how can the community create think tanks to help write policy, research, and back to your efforts?
Great,
You
great,
already
great,
kind
great.
of talked on that. So
Yeah. So a couple of things. We announced 2 weeks ago that we was running. It was on a Thursday.
Mhm,
Right after we did the press conference at the post in front of Barbara George statue, we got on a plane and we went to Washington, D.C. We
mhm.
were honored to be the keynote address for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference Minority Economic Summit in Washington, D.C. at the National Press Club. That organization was founded by the great Martin Luther King.
Mhm,
And while there, we met so many experts across the country that was dealing with appraisals,
mhm.
um, antitrust laws. We met attorney generals, just great experts. But you know what we did when we was talking to Gagin? We got a commitment from them to bring them down in here to Houston in District 18.
All right.
And next week we're going to announce that in middle or the end of May, we're going to hold an economic summit right here in District 18. We're already doing the work. We're not waiting.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so at that summit, at that think tank, we're encouraging all people to come out and have an input, but also get educated to understand what's really happening. So we can start
Mhm.
having educated opinions and give back, and no one's just arguing for misinformation. We have to
Yes.
counter misinformation with factual information. There's
Mhm.
no such thing as alternative facts.
Mm.
It's only fact, right? It's only
Mhm.
fact. That's
Yeah.
what my Bible tells me. So, it bringing people into the fold, and especially young entrepreneurs, especially the innovators, especially people with ideas, but also especially people with experiences, those contractors, those trade workers, those people that have a skill set, barbers. It doesn't matter how you're impacted. You're paying taxes, right? You're still
Mhm.
paying taxes, if not more, out of your paycheck. But the government is telling you that there's no money to support you. That's bad business. That's bad
Mhm.
business. We have to change that, but we have to understand how the tax code work. I'm gonna say this again. There has not been a Democrat that has submitted a tax cut plan in Congress in over 40 years. 40 years. Well, guess what? We written run, and we're gonna run on it. We're gonna roll it out next month, and we're gonna
Mhm.
campaign on it. We've just broken another record, and we're not even. They call us a long shot. We played no
Yeah.
game. We
Yeah.
played no
You come to
game.
work.
We come to work.
Come
Y'all
to
can do all
work.
that
Yes.
talking and barking. We're coming to work with the tangibles and the receipts. So,
Yes.
because it has to be done. And while we are
Love
barking and
it.
talking about the problem, we need to get skin in the game. We're
Mhm.
tired of losing. And the point is that we fight hard. We've been fighting all our lives since Rosa was sitting down. It's time to start winning, right?
Yes.
We want to win. And in order to win, you
Stand up
have to
and
get
fight.
in the game. You got to you shouldn't have to fight. That's the sad part. But we want to
Yeah.
win, and we have a winning solution in plan. I fight to win. I don't fight
Yeah.
to lose.
Yeah.
Are you tired of losing? Are you
Yeah.
tired of losing? Right. So we got
Yeah.
a winning team and a winning plan on here, and we just need
Yeah.
everybody's support. Take us
Mhm.
serious, look into us, and get to know us, and we can win this thing.
Okay.
Amen.
And then this one more. I'm gonna do one more question, then I'm gonna go back to my questions.
Okay.
Kinship care is not covered. So Granny can't have her grandkids placed with her with assistance, just strangers. So what do you feel about the kinship care?
I'm sorry. Say it again. You're cut out.
the kinship care. It says not covered, so Granny can't have her grandkids placed with her with assistance, just strangers.
Yeah, that goes back to that relatable representation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Granny took care of them kids when they was babies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Granny's gonna be in a position where them babies gotta take care of Granny. There's nobody that know your granny than your kids and that assistance. So right now, thank you for asking that. A part of our healthcare solution plan that we want to present, win, lose, or draw, is to have those services. Look at home healthcare service where if you come on as a home healthcare provider or whatnot, you get that training. Your kin should be priority in that, but they should be
Mm-hmm.
trained, they should be supported, and it should be codified to where at the end of the day it's an investment into Granny, because Granny's going to feel more comfortable with that. These strangers that come in and you put in, your most valuable, precious loved one into their hands,
Yes.
it's not okay. And believe it or not, there is some study that shows that the decline of mental indoor stress with an elderly person will increase because of that stress of having a stranger around them and that
Mm-hmm.
anxiety. There's studies for that. And so we need to get in there and looking and have those communications as a community. um Secondly, we got to hold ourselves accountable. There are times where we get on and get that funding and we're not
Mm-hmm.
doing the services that we should before that funding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a conversation to have that the better investment is to take the resources and funding and let's get Granny good. Let's get Granny right. Let's make sure that Granny has those services. That civic
Yes.
synergy I was talking about with this wasted fund. Let's get the free handicap accessible vehicle to get Granny not only to her doctor visit, but also to the grocery store. Because you know what's gonna
Mm-hmm.
make her happy when she can start doing things her damn self again, right?
Yeah.
That's what Granny really wants. So let's support Granny to still have that sense of self-worth in life. Let's have those conversations. So yeah, we got to start having those conversations and making it happen. See what we can do from a federal level to provide resources, training, and support in that regard.
Okay, we have two compliments on here. Stavetta Walton said, I know of Robert and he has always had the passion and he is the best fit for this position. And I think it's a Devon L. Think tank is a great idea. The more people are educated, the more powerful we can be as a community.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
So yeah, so I'm gonna go back into the questions so that then we almost to close. If you want to
Oh, those
win
were
this
the good
election,
questions?
I said we got some more questions, then we'll go to the close.
Okay.
Okay. If you win this election, what is the first thing you want to celebrate with your community?
Who? I don't know about celebrating because that's not the victory. That's just the
Yeah.
beginning. We
Yeah.
can celebrate when I deliver and what I'll tell you that we're going to deliver on.
Mm-hmm.
But um, we will come together.
Mm-hmm.
White, black, Hispanics, poor, all tax. We have to come together because we are fighting some diabolical things that's happening in this world. And that's first and foremost. So we'll celebrate the unity of making it happen. But to
Mm-hmm.
get there, we have to do the work now. We have to start now.
Mm-hmm.
These things that is happening because they were voted for.
Mm-hmm.
We lost voting power. So voting is serious. This was just evident. So even right now, we have to acclimate and get people into the voting process and the
Yes.
procedure. Let me be clear, and I'm just transparent, and my team is probably gonna get mad at me a little, but I can't help it. Is that I remember that when I went to a meeting with the Democratic chair um, a year ago, and I asked him, "What is the plan to get first-time voters, young kids out of high school,
Yes.
involved into the voting process?" He said, "None."
Mm-hmm.
As a businessman, I look at liabilities and assets and profit and losses. So
Mm-hmm.
we're not investing in the things to help us win.
Mm-hmm.
So we're complacent, we keep losing. We've lost the Supreme Court. We lost
Mm-hmm.
Congress. We've lost the Senate. We've lost women reproductive rights. We're losing
Mm-hmm.
education. We're losing our mind. We're losing our health. We're losing. Let's start winning. And
Yeah.
so it's just important for us to come together as one, get people to vote, get people educated on the importance, and get them out to vote. And also for you, everybody out there, no matter who you vote for, of course, I want you to vote for me. But what's more important is that you vote with the conscience of not just self, but you have a selfless vote. You vote for the underserved, you vote for the elderly, you vote for the homeless, you vote for a movement, a passion that is bigger than yours.
Yeah.
Um, Not off of popularity, not who you like, but look clearly at the candidates, and most importantly, who's behind the candidate. I may have a target on my back, but you'll never see puppet strings. Know what
Mm-hmm.
you're voting for. Know who you're voting for. The time is too critical right now to pass that up.
Okay. So now let's talk about now. So when you're not on the campaign trail,
Mm.
what brings you joy and peace in your day?
I'm from Houston, honestly, don't judge me. I listen to DJ Screw Music and Fish.
Yeah.
Man, I get out there in that water and fish.
Yeah.
Listen to some old Screw music.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, but it's the
Enjoy
truth,
yourself.
man. Oh,
Yeah.
that's it. Like I say, I'm at peace. When I'm at peace, just walking and going to a creek and just, um, I'm different at home. I watch the Golden Girls and I love Lucy, man, and the
Yeah.
Jeffersons.
Yeah.
And so, you can tell my grandmother raised me, right?
Yeah.
Um, but just the simple things in life. The world is moving too fast. It's such a production just to live these days, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a homebody, but fishing, relaxing, being one with nature, walking, um,
Mm-hmm.
church, giving away. We do. My son, like I said, who's in a wheelchair, he has a foundation. Each year, him and his young group, these kids are under 25. They feed 300 to 400 homeless people and give clothes every single year. And he
All
won't let me help him, right? He won't let me help him when doing it in his own. So he's definitely my
right.
son. But we had a project before about 7 years ago where we just went under the bridge with the community and slept out there for 2 days and got to learn. It was a
Mm-hmm.
camping trip. And it's nothing admirable. We don't take photo ops to do it, but to understand something,
Yeah.
listen,
Experience
you
it.
gotta experience it. So just
Mm-hmm.
being a study of the environment and associating those around us, I think it's environment. We're on borrowed time. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I want to be more meaningful when we spend it. So thank you
Yeah.
for asking.
Yeah. So, what does your legacy mean to you, and what kind of legacy do you hope to leave for the Houston youth? Because they don't always get involved. And so, what is your legacy you want to leave, and your hope to leave for the young youth coming up behind you?
Hmm. My grandmother had this saying that she told me. It was kind of scary. She says, son, never run from and never run to. The only running that you do is when you run through.
Mm-hmm.
And it always stuck with me against all odds. Have faith.
Mm-hmm.
Things that are great, you have to believe, you have to see it in order to see it. There's nothing that you can accomplish, but you have to listen. Part of communication is listening more than you talking. You have to
Yeah.
study. I have
Mm-hmm.
been blessed beyond measures in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've overcome so much, but it's not anything to me. All glory to God. But in the legacy is that personally, when I was in jail or in trouble, I can imagine my mom having to ask questions for friends. How was your son doing? Imagine what she would say. So it was important for me to give her a new conversation piece,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so you can say this, but make sure you say that.
Uh-huh.
And so for anybody, you have every day to have a second chance at life.
Mm-hmm.
Not easy to even, even if you are a veteran, even if you are disabled, and respectfully, even if you are a young lady that dealt with a traumatic domestic assault or something like that, and can nobody speak to your trauma, but let me tell you, you have a day, every single day that you wake up to reinvent yourself, to forgive, and to live your dream and to look forward. And that is the only thing that I want to bring to people is to look forward. Don't get distracted and don't look back. Your back is just rocks in your experience and the wind and to propel you, but stay forward. Anything is possible. As quick as something could be destroyed, it could be built quickly. So that's my legacy that I would like to instill, that anything is possible against all odds.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so I want to ask you a question about the vouchers. How do you feel about the vouchers?
Whew, yeah, that voucher program. um, my stance on it is that public education is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of kids, the only meal that they have throughout the day is at school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not only that, the community is an education after school program. So when little Johnny go outside to play with little Eric,
Mm-hmm.
they got that common ground to talk about what happened at school, right?
Yeah.
Going to two different schools affects that. I remember going after high school talking to my friends about a girl that we liked and how pretty and such and such. When you tear the education apart, you create more silos for the community. I think that needs
Yeah.
to come into play. My
Mm-hmm.
biggest concern as a congressman for these vouchers is that people need to understand that privatizing and going to the voucher program takes away those civil protections. So
Mm-hmm.
now, under that program, schools have a chance to deny you. They could deny you for your disability. They could deny you because of your race, your gender. They're
Mm-hmm.
not kind of protected from those civil rights protections that we have. So what is that going to look like? Hmm?
Yeah.
How is that going to play out? So let's also be clear that in our own communities, who's to benefit?
Mm-hmm.
Respectfully, a lot of our pastors are to benefit from this
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of other communities. So I'm a big proponent of this. I have an education plan, and
Mm-hmm.
the education plan that I believe and stand on is, and I want to take the second to throw this out, is that we must bring the education department back and
Mm-hmm.
strengthen it, and we must make it autonomous, similar to the Federal Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
The Federal Reserve is an entity that is a part of our structure, but it's ran by a board and a chairman, and it's kind of free of state and federal, if you will, um, um, oversight, interference.
Mm-hmm.
I think our education should be looked at as an investment and should be treated the same way. I believe that the funding of the education department should be tied to our federal defense budget. Every time we spend a dollar on weapons of mass destruction, we should invest a dollar into weapons of mass education for our future. Our
Okay.
future and our kids is our biggest weapon of defense to keep this nation going down the line. But most importantly, making the education autonomous to keep it out of the hands of politicians and governors or Democrats and all this nonsense. Our kids are paying the price. And making it autonomous will level and equalize the playing
Mm-hmm.
field. Whether you live on Kirkendall or Upper Kirby, whether you live in South Park or in uptown, the education offer will be the same.
Yes.
That is the greatest fight that we can give our teachers, our kids. And our teachers need to be protected. Hell, a lot of them are jumping in front of bullets or weapons of mass destruction themselves. So we need to
Yes.
make sure they have the mental health support, they have the work-life balance, they have the tools. Texas has not increased its education budget since 2019. That's 6 years ago. They've had the
Mm.
same budget, but yet cost of goods has went up, cost of living
Yeah.
has went up. We've been through so many recessions. So now teachers are coming out of pocket to fund their classrooms.
Yes.
Teachers are being attacked. So when we talk about educations and vouchers, it's a comprehensive plan. We have to dig into it, have a conversation with all out the noise and distraction and opinions. We can agree to disagree, but we have to identify what we want in common, and that's to ensure that it's equal, fair, and trackable progress in education for our kids, and that our school districts also are held accountable for not having failure schools, for failing to acclimate the parents into the conversations and to
Yes.
get them involved and set up ways to meet them where they are. If a single mother is at work, you can't have a Peter-Tarrant meeting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes.
Stop playing games, man.
Yeah.
So we have to have real conversations and meet people where they are because we
Mhm.
share a common goal of making sure these kids are successful. Let's stop playing games. Let's have a winning solution. Everything else is failing.
All right. So now let's go. And so, how can the people of District 18 get involved in your campaign or your movement, the work you're doing now?
Thank you so much. You can visit us at standwithslater.com. Standwithslater.com. Um, please donate anything that you can, $5, whatever it is. We need the support. We got yard signs, we got social media you want to do. We have a great team. And let me be clear and tell you something that's cool about us. I have a campaign team of 18 people, and they're all pretty much volunteering because they believe in the moment. And so our campaign dollars is not paying a consultant or how and all that trickery. We have people that have transferable experiences just like you that have volunteered for this campaign. And that's how I want it. That's how I need it. And that's how I believe that God will get the glory at the end. So we also, we need your support just to volunteer, to help us out, to spread the word, get some yard signs. We have a lot of events. We're throwing a lot of events. We have a trail ride coming up. We have voter registration. We have marches going on. We have events. We have anything that you can do to get acclimated. But most importantly, sign up if you want to know more about me and what we stand for. Instead of saying, I don't know him, I want to know you. I'll pull up on you. I'll come. I'll bring some paper plates and some slab of ribs and I'll cook for you. Let's talk, right? I'm
We can
personal.
eat
Let's
talk.
talk, right? Let's talk.
Yeah.
Because not knowing something is not an excuse. Not
Mm-hmm.
knowing is not an excuse. So standwithslater.com. Contact us, reach out, we will engage, and and most importantly, I'll listen. We got some listening tours coming up, and that's more important right now, just to go around and listen to the community versus talking with all of these
Mm-hmm.
ideas, so on and so forth. So standwithslater.com, get involved. It's a movement bigger than me. It's a movement bigger than you. It's a movement of our future, and it's time to start winning, and we can do it together.
Okay. So next thing I want to ask you, what do you want to say directly to the voters who undecided, feels like their vote don't matter, or not registered to vote yet, and why they should be registered to vote or get registered now so they can cast their ballot?
Whoa, I go so. I'm sorry. Let me say that a lot of these votes are so close that it could swing a generation. Um, I think Texas, for Miss Kamala to win Texas was a deficit of about 100,000, 200,000 something votes, right? In District 18, there's 800,000 people, but there's only 200,000 something registered voters. That's a
Mm,
600,000 deficit. That means that if we could have got 200,000 more people in District 18 alone, Kamala Harris would have been president.
mm,
Your vote matters. Right now
yeah.
in Congress, there's a 3-seat difference in power, 4 seats, I believe. The Republicans hold a 4-seat majority over the Democrats. I'm gonna be honest with you. When we went to DC 2 weeks ago to the economic summit, I sat down with 2 Democratic sitting U.S. representatives, and I sat down with 3 Republicans. And I had, out of respect and the privacy of those conversations, it's Republicans that want to work to get things done, but they're
Hmm.
afraid of the retribution from building their own party. You need a leader
Yeah.
that can negotiate that deal and create a group that will get winning results, because that's what's needed, not just talking and land blasting and doing all this rhetoric. So your vote matters. Everything is swayed so easily. Some would tell you that your vote don't matter. The average voting age in District 18 is 62.
Mm.
Some in this party, unfortunately, they depend on that. They don't want you to vote because
Yeah.
they could focus on this one group that they've been focusing on for so long. They can raid the nursing homes and try to get the elderly to vote, but they don't want you to vote. They don't want you to think that your vote matters. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
lie.
That's
We are
like
going
it.
to launch, last year, we've launched one of the largest voter registrations in the city's history. We got 20 different nightclubs and restaurants to do a citywide voter registration in one day. We're going to launch 2 of those this year for early voting. And also on the site, if you're going to, we're going to hold virtual town halls and education seminars to tell you the importance of voting. We're going to tell you how to vote, what's needed, and we're going to assist you to get acclimated. Whomever you vote for, your vote do matter. Your vote
Yes.
do count. And if you don't believe that, and if you didn't vote the last time, I'm gonna be real with you. You see what happened.
Mm-hmm.
You see what we're doing now. Let's hold ourselves accountable.
Mm-hmm.
We need everybody to vote. Okay. And I'm going to assist and lead in whatever way possible to answer questions about voting, eligibility. We're here for that, right? And what does it mean? So tell a friend to tell a friend. And to
Yes.
message to all my young ladies out there, single young ladies. If a gentleman come up to you and ask you for your information, what's your name? The first thing you ask him, are you registered to vote? Because if
Mm-hmm.
a young man is not involved to build for the future,
Mm-hmm.
you deserve better. Hold the
Yeah.
men accountable, right?
Yeah.
So let's get in the process, let's get in the game, and let's get to work.
All right. Well, I just want to. You heard him. You heard it from him yourself. Y'all get that. Get ready to vote. Uh, and vote for him, Robert Slater, because he got some great plans. He got
Thank
some
you.
great ideas, and he's doing the work now. That's the kind of candidate y'all want to represent y'all. We need him in Congress. We need people that's gonna actually do the work, and he sounds like he's gonna do the work. This is my first time meeting, but I have what I've heard so far. You are you are forced to be reckoned with. So if they're not out there trying to help you achieve those goals, it's something wrong with them, not you.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. So I thank you for coming on the show, and you have a
Thank you.
good day.
You too. God bless. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You